Okay, so Paul, it's an honor to have you here, and I thought we could start by having you tell our viewers a little bit about your background and your connection to Ukraine.
My connection with Ukraine is I still have family there, and this is one of the reasons why this particular exhibit has come together for me. It's been too hard on my heart thinking that my family could be lost at any given moment. Um, so I want to be able to assist. I'm too old to go out there and fight, and take arms and walk hand in hand with my fellow countrymen. But so the next best thing I can do is provide assistance in some other way. And so um, the show, the exhibit that I'm having is totally focused on fundraising. So 100% of the sales in the show are going directly to Ukraine, and hope that that can be some sort of positive influence one way or the other with them. So that's where my driving force is coming from for this exhibit. Um, I have been an anti-war advocate for most of my life.
Wow.
Um, it saddens me that people have to resort to such drastic measures to be able to satisfy big business, satisfy big ego, satisfy whatever the case may be, to spill into aggression, into destruction, no regard for human life. And it really deeply, deeply saddens me. So that I don't like hearing about it. I know what happens, but I don't like hearing about it. And it does strike a very, very sad chord in me that we as humans have to resort to that. So here I am.
That's wonderful. It's great
Yeah.
to hear about that. As someone whose career began in teaching, how did your interest in photography develop?
Oh, wow. A very dear friend of mine who's no longer with us um, said to me one day as we were going for a bit of a walk out in this camp that I think I made reference to,
Right.
and he said, everyone has a voice. It's up to you if you can find the time to search out this voice and pursue it. And so he at that time had a camera and was taking photographs, and I thought, I could definitely get into that. And so I went out and bought myself a cheap single lens reflex camera for like about $70 back then. That was like a 1966.
Right.
It was called the Zenit. It was a Soviet-made camera.
Oh, wow.
And so I do remember buying it and then trying to figure out how to be able to use it. Well, it stuck with me so well that that's what I studied at university, the Fine Arts Department at York University. I had some wonderful teachers there who helped me to fine-tune what I was doing in photography. And one in particular, a man by the name of Michael Seamack, who told me that there should be purpose when you're doing something creatively. There should definitely be some sort of direction that you either want your audience to be able to appreciate or do. And so I jumped in with both feet,
Wow.
and I figured like this is something I should be doing. And I have to sort of emphasize that everybody has talent. It's just having the time to find your talent, I think, is the big key to the whole thing. So I was lucky enough to be able to have summers off, whether I was a student or whether I was a teacher, and I could pursue that with great vigor.
Very nice.
And that's
Wow.
what I did.
And in some ways, do you feel you found your voice through your photography, like that?
I do. It's I have had shows all around the world and in different parts of Canada. So I love presenting a voice, and I love being able to see people react, and whether it's I can't determine how people are going to react to different things I do, but I hope that it's in a positive way and in a constructive way. So that's what but I get as much satisfaction out of watching people smile and with approval, when they're looking at something, and I say, like, wow, okay, I've hit that person where I want to be able to hit them, either in the heart or in the head.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so, and that's where, I guess that's my driving, goal with photography. I've gone from basically a landscape photographer, who I was initially when I first started it, and I've gone through doing documentary, doing political statements, but this last one is perhaps the most powerful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly impactful, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what people think as they come in for the show. And I wanted to ask you as well, as you reflect on your evolution as a photographer, our viewers would be interested in knowing which artists or photographers you'd credit with having inspired you and having an influential effect on your work.
Oh, okay, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, you've referred to one, and I think he taught you at York, right?
Yeah,
So,
because I was so caught up in landscapes. That was my minor in university, was geography.
right.
So that's where that comes into play. But the so a person I was really stricken with was a man by the name of Ansel Adams, a great American photographer who did all kinds of wonderful landscape photographs in black and white. That was something as well that I thoroughly enjoyed in my early years, was to be able to do black and white photography, get into the darkroom, smell all those wonderful chemicals, and then watch things happen miraculously in the trays. From a blank sheet of paper, you end up producing this wonderful image, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So there's that. Him, I'm not a portrait photographer, but I did enjoy looking at Joseph Karsh's work, who's a man who did all kinds of wonderful work. I liked Arnold Newman, another portrait photographer of different sort than the formal way that Karsh presented things. I loved the man by the name of Aaron Siskin, who went into a junkyard and came out producing wonderful works of art.
Wow.
So that's where I got my appetite for abstract art, looking at his work and saying, whoa, so there is a wonderful world out there hidden behind lifted paint, beaten up walls. There's all kinds of things that do have an attraction one way or the other to you. So that was very important for me, because that's where I am today with some of my work. I'm into abstract art. I love, like the last show I had here was abstract art.
Right.
And so I did it with another fellow artist, a sculptor / painter, and we did this during COVID.
Oh
So
my gosh, wow.
so that was fun.
Yeah.
But those are the people that and then of course my university professor, Michael Mack, instill a political punch that that artists do have the ability to be able to put into their work, whether they want to or not. He became a very politically charged photographer who was always willing to, I guess, go to the edge and yell at people.
Wow.
Like, wake up,
Yeah.
be aware of what's happening out there,
Right.
and then that sort of that stayed with me as well. So, but anyhow.
Great, wow. And then I wanted to ask you, so having been a photographer since the late 1970s, I know this might be a hard question to answer, but what has been the most memorable experience of your career thus far?
Wow, that is a hard question.
Yeah, because there's been so many, very momentous experiences, moments, visiting various countries. But if you were to, as you reflect on this magnificent career, what would you say really, really stood out to you and resonated with you?
Well, I think what resonates with me right now, and I guess it's been resonating for me or with me for quite a while, is I have fallen in love with World Heritage Sites, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And I love going to these places and photographing them and just sitting and enjoying them, just like turning off anything that I would consider artistic tendencies in me and just enjoy the moment of the place. So for me, this has been like something that I thoroughly enjoy. Unfortunately, I'm at the age now where I can't do very many more. I've done like about a quarter of all the ones that are there. There's like over 1,200 World Heritage Sites around the world.
Right.
But it's something that I have so much pleasure in going, walking, looking, photographing. And I think one of my intentions is to get to a point where I think I've got enough work that I feel satisfied with that I can maybe put together in a book.
Oh, wow.
I would like to be able to do that before time runs out.
Oh, well, let's hope you do get that. That was actually one of my questions as well. Since you mentioned that, beyond this wonderful exhibit, which you're going to have very soon, is there something that you're working on or that you're envisioning moving forward? I mean, this book sounds like the big thing that you'd like to accomplish, but is there anything you could share with our viewers as to what you hope in your lifetime to achieve?
Well, I think what I'm doing right now, I think is, I live in Mexico for the winters because my body does not enjoy winters here anymore. And when you're working in a comfortable environment, where the weather is perfect, it allows you to take time to reflect on what you've done and what you're doing. So I'm actively involved in a little community called Ajic in Mexico, which is on Lake Chapala, which is like about 40 kilometers south of Guadalajara.
Wow.
It's on the biggest freshwater lake in Mexico. And one of the wonderful things that I really feel happy about is I can go out there. We have a Malecon, a boardwalk along our little community, and every night there's a beautiful sunset. And every night when we walk along there or view it from our house, we look at each other and say, wow, are we ever lucky to be here? So it helps to invigorate oneself, to get that inner strength that sometimes we lose, and our inner focus that we sometimes lose. So because of all kinds of distractions that are out there, whether it be material or political or whatever, but I think we have a purpose in our lives to stay focused and to try to achieve things one way or the other that benefits people, not destroys people.
Wow, very
so
nice.
That's where I'm coming from, I think, with all that as well. I know a lot of us who I associate with have a I guess a comfortable life. We don't have to struggle for what we're trying to accomplish. But there's a lot of people out there on this planet of ours that struggle every day.
Absolutely.
And whether it be war or whether it be trying to find a meal or whatever. And it's troublesome that we have all this great wealth on this planet, but we seem to want to hoard it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's people who have this pursuit of wanting to be the richest person in the world.
Right.
How that helps the rest of the world, I have no idea, but I find it difficult to comprehend how you could be that selfish with all the money that you have and you're not doing anything with it except looking at it and seeing all those wonderful figures after that dollar sign.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So,
I totally understand. In so many ways, your worldview has been shaped by photography. It's literally helped you keep focus on what's important, and it's helped you see probably beyond the lens and the realm that most people do. And having traveled to different parts of the world, you're well acquainted with, so many things that people struggle with, as you highlighted.
Yeah, I've done some crazy things in the last 20 years. I've walked the Camino 3 times. I've cycled in Ethiopia, which was an interesting eye opener, and I've cycled in Jordan and Syria.
Wow.
And one of my wonderful memories, and all those unusual things I've done, was sitting admiring some old Roman ruins in Syria. A young boy, he must have been maybe 10 or 12, and his sister saw me perched there by myself and walked up to me and asked me if I'd like to go to their parents' place and have dinner with them. And I went like,
oh, wow.
I don't even know you. And I said thanks, but I couldn't take that, that invitation. I had to be back at where we were staying. I didn't want to go back in the darkness because there was no lights where I was sitting enjoying this wonderful sight. But then, like about 5 years later, all hell broke loose in Syria.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God. Because from the very moment we cycled into Syria, we stopped at a little place as a rest/refreshment break kind of thing. And there were a whole group of people there, women with their children, and they welcomed us with such openness. I couldn't believe what I was experiencing. Like, we're total strangers, and yet we were looked at as family members.
It's really nice. It's a very moving story, and it is commonplace in the Arab world, actually, because they take hospitality very seriously and being a guest in one's country. And I think, it's just very much a part of the culture. So I'm really happy that you had that experience. I think it would have been remarkable to have dinner with the family and experience that hospitality and that warm welcome, which I'm sure you would have received. But I'm actually very happy that you went there. I think it's amazing. And I wanted to ask, was that in Damascus, or where exactly were you?
No, we eventually got to Damascus, but it was I'm gonna mispronounce it. Borza.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just after we visited that archaeological site, and we were heading to. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the name. This is not good.
Was it Aleppo?
Where?
Aleppo?
No. It's where where there's a big oasis, and there's all kinds of Roman ruins near this oasis. That was our destination, was to get there. Oh, it'll come to me before we leave.
Okay, sounds good. No worries at all. That's a very, very beautiful story. I wanted to ask, The Other View, Searching for Peace, features a striking collection of photographs which span continents and decades. I'm curious as to how your concept developed. In other words, how did you get this idea?
Oh. Yeah. Trying to find resolution in this difficult headspace that I'm in. You with the Palestinian question, me with the Ukrainian question. I've taken thousands of photographs. Some of them I'll probably never use. As a matter of fact, I'll probably never use most of them. But I was messing around with mirror images, and I thought for some work to be presented in a gallery in The Hague, I thought to myself, wow, this does have potential to be able to go in a direction that people are not expecting me to do. I didn't want to glorify war. That's the last thing I wanted to do. So I wanted to be able to show to people that over and above, there are different points of view, and it's those different points of view that should be respected. I'm not talking about negative points of view, I'm talking about positive points of view. I'm talking about things that if we sit down, we can come to resolutions one way or the other without too much painstaking time. It's just a question of, do we want to have that happen?
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are in power don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who are suffering through it all do want it to happen. So in my case, I wanted to show the image I took, but I wanted to show the reverse to it, that if you look at it, it looked different from another angle. The same picture, but from another angle. And with that, I thought, nothing has to be lost in this world that we have today. Some of it people will say should be torn down because of who constructed it and for the purpose that they constructed it. But it is what it is, and we should move forward with this stuff instead of destroying it. So for me, looking at it and saying, we can still embrace what we have.
Mm-hmm.
We can still enjoy what we have. So instead of showing pictures of war, I have shown pictures of beauty.
Right.
Pictures you can look at and appreciate and be able to say, wow, where, the title of the piece is essentially where the picture was taken. And so if you have enough fascination about wanting to visit some of these places, that's just a little tease, little
Right.
tidbit for you to be able to look at. And I have included like a one-liner.
Mm-hmm.
When I was communicating with Ludmila about having this show, she said, it's fine to be able to put together the work that you have, and it's fine to be able to entitle it with the way you have, but there's something missing. There has to be some sort of reference to the conflict you're addressing. And so I said, I understand. So now I had my homework ahead of me, and so I had to look back at all these countries that I've represented in my photographs and try to find something that would reflect the conflict
Right.
in that country.
Yeah.
And for some it was very easy to do.
Yeah.
Like the colonialists, the colonial powers, they have like,
Right.
wow, so much that you could glean from that. You could write a thesis on it without any problem. But that doesn't help me any. So I had to be able to look for a specific thing that sort of jumped out at me. And I wanted to reduce it just to like a one-liner.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what I did. I tried to select one sentence that I could reflect onto that photograph. So I've done that. And I like the idea that I learned when I was studying fine arts at York University, that I was doing a film course as well. And I love the new wave that France had in cinematography.
Right, yeah, in the 50s and 60s, right?
Yeah. So people like Truffaut and people like Godard, they wanted to take film in a different direction than how we viewed film. They want to be able to use it as an educational instrument to teach people. And I loved Godard because Godard said, before you come to see my film, do some homework.
Wow.
And I thought, now why should I go out, because I already had some preconceived notions in my head about how life should be, and I think we all have that. So I thought, like, why should I spend time in a library researching what you're doing when I'm expecting that from you, not me to go to you, but and so I was really stricken by that. I figured that's an interesting concept. So when I did that, I had a chance to appreciate the film that much more.
Wow.
Because now he was talking about something, not in an abstract form, not having to sort of like try to see if you could put it together, but he was trying to say, now you had the background, so it was easier to be able to put it together. And I walked away with a totally different point of view. I'm more like, wow, I like it.
Very
I'm going to use it
nice.
one day.
Wow, that's great. Oh my gosh. And you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I wanted to ask you, the photographs you've chosen are mirror images reflecting the other side. In your opinion, why is looking at the other view important? Essentially, what were you hoping to accomplish with this photography exhibition and the philosophy underpinning it? So you did allude to that earlier, but I just wanted to ask you once again, like, why is looking at the other view? What were you hoping people could see?
Well, there are a lot of countries, a lot of different points of view. There's a lot of culture, history that's out there, and a lot of it gets lost because people didn't want to hear another point of view or didn't want to see another point of view. The Russification of Ukraine was a big one. Everybody had to be able to comply with the impetus of what was being exerted by the old Soviet rule. It's fine to have a unifying language to be able to communicate with one another, but not at the expense of losing your own language.
Right. Yeah.
So one's identity, I think, should be preserved and it should be kept. We have lost a lot over the millenniums. Things we'll never ever see again. It's like becoming extinct,
Right.
language becoming extinct. There are like thousands of different dialects that have been lost over the centuries that we'll never see again.
Yeah.
Never hear again. Better still. So by having to look at the other view, like I said, everybody has the right to their view. Everybody has the right to reflect on who they are and what's important to them. And I think that's where I want to come from as well with the work that I'm showing. I do want to know, and I do want to share that people always have an opinion about something. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that your opinion is the correct one. It just means that you do have the right to an opinion. And that's where I'm coming from with this as well.
Right.
So.
Great. And then I wanted to ask as well, most recently we've been witnessing a very painful chapter of Ukraine's history being written. As you look toward...
Start from the beginning.
Sorry. Most recently we've been witnessing a very painful chapter of Ukraine's history being written. As you look toward the future, what are your aspirations for Ukraine and its people?
Wow. Putin has the ability to be able to pretty much put an end to everything because he's got the power, the armaments, the people that he can use as soldiers to come in to capture something that he feels he has the right to. So that totally separates the cause of how all these different past Soviets, all these past republics that used to exist don't have the right to do that because he feels that he has more right to it than anything else. The heart and soul of the Ukrainian people, I can't say enough. They have been so courageous in their struggle to fight for what is theirs. And this is, I have family members walking around with weapons to defend themselves, to defend their homeland. I just find it so sad that once upon a time we all worked together. Russians talk to Ukrainians and Ukrainians talk to Russians, and there didn't seem to be too much at stake other than the fact that Russia wanted to make sure that they stayed in control. But there was never any threat of anybody coming over and taking something from the other. And now that's a possible reality. I don't know how long the Western allies are going to be able to keep on pouring support into Ukraine, with financial, with money, with arms, with support of all different kinds. I'm hoping that this will not stop. Just like I'm hoping that Trump doesn't get in,
right.
that because he'll cut the support to Ukraine that Americans are contributing. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see some sort of peace established between both countries. Keep the boundaries that once were there can still be there. I want to see all this without more lives being lost, without more things being destroyed. I just met a man at Loblaws. He looked at my hat and said, "Oh, I like your hat. I like that one pin you have in your hat." I said, "Yes, it's a reflection of the struggle of Ukrainians." He says, "I know." He said, "I'm Ukrainian."
Oh.
And I said, "Yes, you know why I'm wearing it." And we both have, we're all both on the same foot. And we talked. And I invited him to my opening. I said, "Please do come."
Nice.
And I'm sure you'll find other people on the same wavelength as we are, as we talk for a short amount of time we're together. So there is all this camaraderie among the Ukrainian community. And we all realize that what we're fighting for and against is a hard struggle. And we don't want to give up. We don't want to give in to somebody who has no right to be there. So that's, Sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional here.
Absolutely. It's definitely been very, very difficult for all of us to see what's happened, and you've underscored the importance of Ukraine's territorial integrity, the Ukrainian people's right to self-determination. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with me. I think we're just about done. I just wanted to ask if you can, just on a related note, tell us about your motivation to help with humanitarian initiatives insofar as wounded soldiers are concerned through the Canada Ukraine Fund, and to help them with their rehabilitation, prosthetics, any psychological support. So just a little bit about, I understand you said you feel motivated to do this and we're hoping to contribute in some way. So if you can just tell us a little bit about your inspiration to do that and why it's important to you.
Well, the exhibit that I've put together, I'm hoping people will come to view it. And I'm hoping that people will go into their pockets, purses, whatever, and purchase something, because 100% of what is sold in that exhibition is going towards the Canada Ukrainian Foundation, the White Stork. And I hope when people come, that might motivate them some more to be able to pursue those two avenues that I just reflected on, or others. I think any kind of support, whether it be financial, morally, in that direction, I think is paramount.
Right.
I think I can't underscore it enough, how important it is. We've opened our hearts by here in Canada by allowing Ukrainian immigrants who are fleeing the areas that are probably most devastated by what Putin has done. I don't think it's going to end there. I think he's going to keep on pushing until we can push back with more than just Ukrainian soldiers, push back with a united front, which is what I'm hoping for, because that's the only way I think we're going to be able to really succeed in thwarting who I think is the enemy, and that's Putin himself. The Russian people are not totally in agreement with what he's doing. I have a friend who's very politically active, and he keeps on telling me that there's an underground swelling of support for Ukraine in Russia. And all I can hope for is that there's more of that, that it keeps on growing to the point where they overthrow the person who's responsible for this struggle that's existing that doesn't have to exist.
Right.
So, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you,
You're
Paul.
striking too many chords in me.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sorry. Is there anything you'd like to add that you would like our viewers to know, or do you feel we've covered everything?
No, I think the bottom line was please come to the show starting September 22nd. It's on a Sunday. The opening will be between 2 and 5:30. Give you a chance to view different parts of where I've been, lucky enough to be able to travel to, and we can share in a glass of wine and enjoy what we have to offer as peace for our fellow man
Thank you.
and women.
Yes, thank you so much. That's great.